The fire within, I never believed in curses until the night the flames came from Olumide's hand. It was a hot evening in our Yoruba village, a place where tradition and superstition wove tightly into the fabric of daily life. The dusty paths between huts were empty, except for the occasional goat or chicken pecking at the ground. Our village, with its simple mud houses and thatched roofs, always felt safe, until that night. Olumide was a quiet man, known for his wisdom and calm demeanor. He wore the traditional Yoruba agbada, the flowing robe that marked him as someone important. His skin was dark, and his face lined with years of worry. We all respected him, but there were whispers about his temper. That night, a family gathering was held at the community center. Lanterns flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The elders talked about the old ways, and Olumide sat quietly, his eyes fixed on the floor. But as the night wore on, a disagreement broke out between Olumide and another elder. The argument grew louder, and I could see Olumide's face turning red. Then it happened. With a roar that shook the ground, Olumide's hand erupted in flames. We all froze, our eyes wide in terror. The fire was not like anything I had seen before. It was hot and bright, and it swirled around his head like a living thing. The elders screamed and fled. I stood there, paralyzed by fear. Olumide's rage seemed to set the very air on fire. The flames danced and hissed, scorching the ground around him. The heat was unbearable, and I could feel it searing my face from where I stood. The fire lasted for only a few moments, but it left a mark on the village that we could never forget. The ground was blackened where the flames had touched it, and Olumide's once proud agbada was burned through in places. The other elder was severely burned, and the village held its breath as we watched Olumide's face, which was now pale and ashen. After the fire died down, Olumide fell to the ground, exhausted and weak. The villagers gathered around him, murmuring in disbelief. The elders took him away to a secluded part of the village, where they tried to heal him using ancient remedies and prayers. For days, the village was quiet. No one spoke much, and people avoided Olumide's home. The fire had changed something in the air, and every crackle of a flame or flicker of a lantern reminded us of that terrible night. To this day, Olumide's story is told in hushed tones. The village has changed, and we have all learned to fear the anger that can unleash such fire. We still see the marks on the ground where the flames had danced, and every once in a while, when the wind is just right, it seems like we can still hear the echoes of that terrible roar. That night, I learned that the legends and curses we laughed about were not just stories. They were warnings. And Olumide's fire was a lesson that some things in our world are better left unexplored. In the weeks that followed, Olumide remained hidden. The village elders spoke of rituals and sacrifices to appease whatever spirits had caused the fiery outburst. They told us that Olumide's anger had awakened something ancient and dangerous. We were instructed to avoid the paths near his home and to be especially respectful of the traditions. As time went on, strange things began happening in the village. Crops withered despite the careful tending of the farmers. Livestock fell ill with no clear cause. The children, usually so full of life, seemed to grow quieter and more withdrawn. The once lively village had taken on an air of unease. One night, unable to sleep, I ventured out to the edge of the village. The sky was clear, but the stars seemed to flicker uncertainly. I made my way to where Olumide's house stood, hidden behind a thick grove of trees. The air was colder than usual, and every rustle in the leaves made my heart race. I crept closer and saw a light flickering through the cracks in the walls of Olumide's house. I knew I shouldn't be there, but curiosity and fear drew me in. I peered through a gap and saw something that made my blood run cold. Inside, the elders were performing a ritual. Olumide was lying on the ground, his eyes closed, and his body covered in herbs and strange symbols drawn in chalk. The flames from candles on the ground cast eerie shadows, and the elders chanted in a language I didn't understand. Their voices were low and serious. Then, without warning, Olumide's mouth began to glow with a faint, ominous light. It was the same fiery glow that had terrified us that fateful night. The light grew brighter, and the flames began to flicker and dance, just as they had before. But this time, the fire was controlled. It was as if Olumide was trying to communicate with the spirits that had been disturbed. The elders watched intently, their faces etched with worry and hope. The flames seemed to respond to their chants, swirling in patterns that I couldn't decipher. After what felt like hours, the flames died down. Olumide's face was drained, but there was a look of relief. The elders gathered around him, murmuring words of comfort. I could see that they had succeeded in calming whatever had been angered, but the damage had already been done. The village slowly returned to normal, though we all knew that things would never be the same. Olumide remained a recluse, and his once respected presence was now shadowed by the fire that had nearly destroyed us all. The fields slowly regained their vitality, and the animals grew healthy again, but there was a new wariness in the air. Every so often, I would see Olumide's old robe hanging on a tree near his house, singed and tattered. It was a stark reminder of that night. The villagers spoke of him in whispers, not out of disrespect, but because we all knew that he had witnessed something we could never fully understand. As for me, I never forgot the flames or the fear that night brought. I learned that some things in our world are more than just stories. They are warnings. And I always remember the lesson, to never provoke the spirits, and to respect the fire that burns within us all. Months passed, and the village slowly adjusted to its new normal. Life went on, but the events of that night left a mark on all of us. Olumide remained a shadow of his former self, his once vibrant presence now subdued. The stories about the fire within him became legends, told to children as warnings and to adults as reminders of the power of anger and the unknown. One evening, as I was walking to the market, I saw Olumide standing alone at the edge of the village, staring out into the distance. His traditional agbada was still stained from the fire, and he looked like a man who had lived through a great ordeal. I approached cautiously, unsure if he would even recognize me. "Olumide," I called softly, "are you okay?" He turned to me, his eyes distant but clear. "The fire has left me," he said, his voice hoarse. "But the lessons remain." I nodded, not entirely understanding, but sensing the weight of his words. Olumide had always been a figure of wisdom, and now his experience with the fire seemed to have given him a deeper insight into the world. As I walked away, I noticed something new in the village. There were small, simple altars placed at various spots, not just for worship, but as offerings to appease the spirits and to show respect for the forces beyond our understanding. The village had adapted, becoming more mindful of the traditions and more careful with their actions. One day, while visiting the village elders, I overheard them discussing a new tradition. They spoke of a ceremony to honor Olumide, not just for what had happened, but for his resilience and the lessons he had taught us. The ceremony would involve a communal gathering, where everyone would offer thanks for the return of peace and share their own experiences and lessons learned. The day of the ceremony arrived, and the village gathered around a large fire in the center of the community. Olumide, wearing a new agbada, was honored with respect and gratitude. The fire was symbolic this time, a reminder of both the danger and the renewal it could bring. It was a chance for everyone to express their thanks and to reaffirm their commitment to honoring the old ways. As the fire burned, I saw Olumide standing at the edge of the circle, his face illuminated by the flames. He looked peaceful, and for the first time since that fateful night, there was a sense of calm in his eyes. The villagers danced and sang, celebrating not just the survival of their community, but the lessons they had learned and the strength they had found in each other. From then on, the story of Olumide and the fire within became a tale of resilience and renewal. It was no longer just a frightening legend, but a story of how a community faced its fears, learned from its trials, and came together stronger. The fire within Olumide had been a trial, but it had also been a catalyst for change, reminding us all of the importance of respect, tradition, and understanding. And as for me, every time I see a flickering flame or feel the warmth of a fire, I remember that night and the lessons it taught us. The fire within Olumide was a powerful force, but it was also a reminder of the strength and unity that can emerge from even the darkest moments.
In a land where the wild meets the civilized, deep within the heart of the savannah lies a secret world where animals are more than they appear. When the moon is full and the winds whisper ancient tales, the beasts of the bush transform, shedding fur and scales to walk among humans as one of their own. Our story follows Quito, a proud and cunning lion, king of the bush, who is both feared and respected by the animals. His transformation into a human is as majestic as his roar, with golden eyes that hold the wisdom of the wild. Next we meet Zuri, the clever and quick-witted hare. As a human, she retains her sharp instincts, always 2 steps ahead, with a mischievous smile that hides her true intentions. Then there is Jabari, the mighty elephant, whose gentle nature as a human belies the strength and memory of a creature who has witnessed the changing world for generations. His deep, booming voice carries the weight of the traditions he holds dear. Finally, we encounter Amani, the graceful gazelle, whose beauty as a human captivates all who meet her. But behind those kind eyes lies a heart torn between the wild she loves and the human world she's beginning to understand. The village they venture into is vibrant and bustling, filled with colorful markets and the sounds of life. The villagers are unaware of the beasts among them, but they are a community bound by tradition, wary of outsiders, and quick to judge those who do not belong. As the animals turned humans begin to interact with the villagers, they are faced with the complexities of human life. Quito becomes intoxicated with the power he holds as a human, using his newfound influence to control the marketplace, demanding respect from the villagers just as he does in the bush. But his arrogance leads to conflict, as the villagers begin to suspect that something is not right with the newcomer who seems to know too much and fear too little. Zuri, always the trickster, begins to play dangerous games, using her wit to outsmart the villagers and gain their trust, only to betray them when it suits her. But her actions soon have consequences, as her tricks begin to unravel the delicate balance between the animals and the humans, leading to a betrayal that cuts deeper than any wound. Jabari struggles with the loss of his connection to the earth. The traditions that once guided him now seem distant as he is drawn into the human way of life. But as the conflict between the animals and villagers escalates, Jabari finds himself torn between his loyalty to the wild and the new bonds he has formed in the village. His decision will determine the fate of both worlds. Amani finds herself drawn to a young villager, Mwangi, whose kindness and understanding make her question everything she knows about the divide between animals and humans. But as the tension rises, she must choose between the love she feels and the loyalty she owes to her own kind. The story reaches its climax when the villagers, driven by fear and suspicion, confront the animals in their human form. The once peaceful village erupts into chaos as truths are revealed, and the delicate balance between the wild and the human world is shattered. In the aftermath, the animals must decide whether to return to the bush or stay in the village, knowing that nothing will ever be the same. Quito learns the hard way that power in the human world is fleeting, and that respect must be earned, not taken. Zuri faces the consequences of her betrayal, understanding that trust, once broken, is difficult to mend. Jabari finds a way to honor his traditions while embracing the new, and Amani discovers that love can bridge even the deepest divides. As the moon wanes and the animals return to their true forms, the village is forever changed, left with the memory of a time when the wild walked among them, and the line between beast and human was blurred. Quito's fierce pride will be tested as he faces challenges from both the village elders who see through his facade and other animals who envy his position. His relationship with Zuri will become strained as her tricks begin to have unintended consequences, pushing their long-standing alliance to its breaking point. Will Quito learn humility before it's too late, or will his thirst for dominance lead him down a path of no return? Zuri's cleverness has always been her greatest strength, but as she grows closer to the villagers she deceives, she starts to see them as more than just pawns in her games. When one of her tricks puts the entire village at risk, she'll be forced to confront the cost of her actions. Can Zuri find a way to make amends, or will she remain the trickster, always on the run from the consequences of her schemes? Jabari's struggle is one of the heart. The village reminds him of the old ways he was taught to respect, but he also sees the value in change and adaptation. His deep bond with the village's wise elder, Nia, a woman who senses there is more to him than meets the eye, will lead him to a crossroads. Will Jabari find a way to honor his past while embracing the future, or will he be crushed under the weight of his own indecision? Amani and Mwangi's relationship will be the heart of the story, a delicate dance between love and duty. As Amani becomes more human in her emotions, she must decide whether to follow her heart or stay true to her kind. Their love will be tested by the growing conflict between the villagers and the beasts, forcing Amani to choose between two worlds. Will love conquer all, or will the divide between beast and human prove too great? As the animals navigate the complexities of human life, new conflicts will arise. The villagers, led by the ambitious and cunning Chief Baraka, will begin to suspect the truth behind the mysterious newcomers. As tensions escalate, Chief Baraka will stop at nothing to expose the beasts for what they truly are, believing that their presence is a threat to the village's safety and traditions. But the villagers aren't the only ones with secrets. Deep within the bush, a dark force is stirring, one that threatens to destroy both the animal and human worlds. This ancient enemy, long thought to be nothing more than legend, will emerge, forcing the animals and villagers to put aside their differences and unite against a common foe. Keto carries a dark secret from his past, a betrayal that led to the downfall of another powerful beast in the bush. This secret, long buried, begins to surface as an old rival. Rafiki, the cunning leopard, returns, seeking revenge. Rafiki, who also has the power to transform into a human, infiltrates the village with one goal: to expose Keto's past treachery and take what he believes is rightfully his. Keto must now face the consequences of his actions, not only in the human world, but also in the wild. The villagers, already wary of him, begin to see cracks in his confident facade. Will Keto stand strong and face Rafiki, or will he fall under the weight of his own guilt and ambition? Zuri, always on the move, finds herself drawn into a web of deceit far greater than any she's spun before. A new character, Kamau, a mysterious traitor with connections to the underworld, arrives in the village. He recognizes Zuri for who she truly is and offers her a deal that could secure her a place of power in both the human and animal worlds, but at a steep price. Zuri must decide whether to stay loyal to her friends or take a risk that could change her life forever. But in a world of bargains and betrayals, can she really trust Kamau, or is she being played in a game she doesn't fully understand? Jabari is haunted by visions of the ancient enemy that stirs in the wild. These visions, which began as mere whispers in his dreams, grow stronger with each passing day. They show him a world in ruins, where the line between beast and human is erased and chaos reigns. Jabari knows that he must act to prevent this future, but he is torn between his duty to protect the village and his loyalty to his own kind. He seeks guidance from Naya, the village elder, who reveals a prophecy that foretells the rise of a great leader who will unite the two worlds. But is Jabari that leader, or is he merely a pawn in a much larger game? Amani's relationship with Mwangi deepens, but so do the challenges they face. As their love grows, so too does the suspicion of the villagers. Rumors begin to spread that Amani is not who she appears to be, fueled by the jealousy of Shani, a young villager who has always admired Mwangi from afar. Shani's envy drives her to uncover the truth about Amani, leading to a confrontation that could expose Amani's true identity. Amani must choose between revealing her secret and risking everything, or keeping it hidden and losing the one person she truly cares about. Will love be enough to overcome the prejudice and fear that surrounds them, or will their relationship be torn apart by the very thing that brought them together? As the story progresses, the dark force in the bush begins to take shape. Makali, an ancient spirit of the wild, long thought to be nothing more than a legend, awakens. Makali is a being of immense power, capable of bending both beasts and humans to his will. He sees the transformation of animals into humans as an abomination and vows to restore the natural order, even if it means destroying everything in his path. Makali's influence begins to spread through the bush and the village, sowing discord and fear. The animals feel the pull of their wild instincts growing stronger, making it harder for them to maintain their human forms. The villagers, too, are affected, becoming more suspicious and fearful of the newcomers in their midst. The fragile peace that Kido, Zuri, Jabari, and Amani have worked so hard to build is now under threat from a force far greater than any of them. But just when it seems like all hope is lost, an unexpected ally emerges from the shadows, Tumaini, the wise old tortoise. Unlike the others, Tumaini has lived through the rise and fall of countless kingdoms, both animal and human. His slow, deliberate movements disguise a mind sharp as any blade and a heart filled with knowledge of the ancient ways. He holds the key to defeating Makali, but his wisdom comes with a price. Tumaini reveals that the only way to stop Makali is through a ritual that requires both the strength of the animals and the unity of the village. The ritual, known as the Bond of the Wild and Tamed, is a dangerous and delicate process that can either seal the bond between the two worlds or shatter it forever. Tumaini warns that this ritual will test not only their physical endurance, but also their faith in one another. Each character must confront their deepest fears and make a sacrifice to ensure the survival of both worlds. Kido must let go of his pride and accept that true leadership comes from humility and the ability to listen, not just command. For Zuri, the challenge is to trust others fully and surrender control, something she has avoided her entire life. Jabari must reconcile his respect for tradition with the need for change, finding a way to honor the past while embracing the future. Amani's test is the hardest of all. She must choose between her love for Mwangi and her loyalty to her kind, knowing that whatever she decides will have lasting consequences. As the full moon rises, the time for the ritual approaches. The village, now a place of tension and fear, becomes the stage for the ultimate showdown. Makali senses the gathering power and sends his minions, shadowy creatures born from the darkest parts of the bush, to disrupt the ritual and plunge the world into chaos. The village and the bush are on the brink of a war that could destroy them both. In a stunning display of courage and unity, the animals and villagers come together to defend their home. Kido leads the charge, his roar echoing across the savannah, while Jabari uses his immense strength to hold back the tide of darkness. Zuri and Amani work together to protect the ritual site, their combined wit and grace outmaneuvering Makali's forces at every turn. The villagers, inspired by the bravery of their animal allies, join the fight, wielding their tools and traditions as weapons against the encroaching darkness. As the battle rages, Tumaini guides them through the final steps of the ritual. With each sacrifice, the bond between the wild and the tamed grows stronger. The air crackles with energy as the villagers and animals chant in unison, their voices merging into a powerful force that resonates through the earth. Just as Makali prepares to strike the final blow, the ritual reaches its climax. A blinding light erupts from the ritual site, enveloping the entire village and the surrounding bush. The shadowy creatures dissolve into nothingness, and Makali, caught in the light, is stripped of his power. His form shifts and warps, revealing the true nature of his spirit, a force of chaos that can only exist in the absence of balance. With Makali defeated, the light begins to fade, leaving behind a transformed world. The village and the bush, once separate and at odds, now stand as one. The animals find that they can no longer fully return to their wild forms, their time as humans having changed them forever. The villagers, too, have been altered, their eyes open to the magic and wonder of the world beyond their village walls. Kido, Zuri, Jabari, and Amani emerge from the battle as heroes, their bonds with each other, and the villagers stronger than ever. Tumaini, having fulfilled his role, quietly returns to the bush. The village elders, led by Chief Baraka, recognize the need for a new way of thinking. They declare a new era of cooperation between the villagers and the transformed animals. In the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, a woman named Adan, Known for her remarkable voice but ostracized for her weight, struggles to find love and acceptance. The story revolves around her journey of self-discovery, family conflict, forbidden love, betrayal, and eventual redemption. Adan is introduced as a talented singer who is shunned by society and her family because of her weight. Despite her gift, she lives a lonely life, with only her music as her companion. Her father, Chief Okafor, is ashamed of Adan, believing her size brings dishonor to the family. Her mother, Kioma, is more compassionate but too weak to stand up to her husband. Adan meets a kind-hearted man, Emeka, who appreciates her for who she is. However, he's already betrothed to another woman, making their growing friendship and feelings taboo. Rumors spread about Adan and Emeka's closeness. The community and her family start to suspect something more than just friendship, putting Adan in a precarious position. Chief Okafor confronts Adan about her relationship with Emeka, warning her that any scandal will ruin their family's reputation. Adan is torn between her feelings for Emeka and her duty to her family. Adan and Emeka continue to meet in secret. Their bond deepens, but the fear of being caught looms over them. Adan starts to realize she has feelings for Emeka. Emeka proposes that they leave Lagos together and start a new life where they can be free from societal judgments. Adan is tempted but unsure if she can leave her family behind. Emeka's engagement to his betrothed, Nneka, is announced. Heartbroken, Adan decides to distance herself from him, believing their love was never meant to be. Adan's silence becomes her rebellion. She stops singing and isolates herself from the world. Her family is relieved, thinking she's finally accepted her place, but inside, she's drowning in sorrow. A mysterious stranger, an elderly woman named Mama Ijoma, offers Adan an opportunity to reclaim her voice and her life. She teaches Adan that her worth is not tied to her appearance. Adan begins singing again, this time with more passion and purpose. Her voice becomes a symbol of resistance against the oppressive standards of beauty and love. Emeka returns to Adan, confessing that he cannot marry Nneka because his heart belongs to her. Adan is conflicted but agrees to give their love a chance. When Chief Okafor learns of Adan's reunion with Emeka, he explodes with rage, disowning her and cutting her off from the family. Adan is devastated but determined to live her life on her own terms. Adan and Emeka marry in a small, secret ceremony. Despite the modesty of the event, it's a joyous occasion, symbolizing their defiance against societal norms. Nneka, bitter and vengeful, discovers the secret wedding and informs Adan's family, hoping to ruin her happiness. She also spreads rumors throughout Lagos, turning public opinion against Adan and Emeka. The Okafor family is shamed publicly. Chief Okafor's business suffers and their social standing is tarnished. He blames Adan for everything, worsening their estrangement. Adan uses her voice to fight back, performing a powerful song at a public event that calls out the hypocrisy and cruelty of society. The performance is a turning point, garnering her both admiration and scorn. Tensions between Adan and her family grow as they refuse to forgive her. The community is divided, with some supporting Adan's boldness while others condemn her. Adan discovers she's pregnant. While this should be a time of joy, it's clouded by fear. She worries about how her child will be treated in a world that has rejected her. Kioma secretly visits Adan, begging her to return home and make peace with her father. Adan is torn between her love for her mother and her need to live independently. Adan's pregnancy becomes public knowledge, leading to further backlash from the community. She faces harassment and isolation, but Emeka stands by her side. Kioma arranges a meeting between Adan and her father, hoping for reconciliation. The meeting is tense, with Chief Okafor still harboring anger, but there's a glimmer of hope as he shows signs of softening. Adan gives birth to a daughter, Hope. The birth symbolizes a new beginning for Adan, who vows to raise her daughter in a world where she will be loved and accepted for who she is. Mama Ijeoma returns, offering wisdom and guidance to Adan as she navigates motherhood. She helps Adan understand that her journey is far from over and that she must continue to fight for her place in the world. Chief Okafor, realizing the error of his ways, makes a public apology to Adan. The gesture is a major turning point, but their relationship remains strained. Adan, Emeka, and their daughter move to a new part of Lagos, where they start fresh. The move symbolizes a new chapter in their lives, away from the shadows of their past. Adan's music career takes off as her songs of love, pain, and defiance resonate with people across Nigeria. She becomes a symbol of strength and resilience. Nneka, now regretful of her actions, approaches Adan with an offer to help her succeed in the music industry. Adan is wary but agrees to work with her, showing her capacity for forgiveness. Adan is invited to perform at a major cultural festival in Lagos. This performance is crucial, as it will either solidify her place in society or push her further into the margins. After years of estrangement, Adan's family attends the festival. The event is tense, but there's a sense that healing might finally be possible. It's revealed that a close family friend was behind many of the rumors and schemes against Adan. The betrayal shakes the family, but it also brings them closer as they unite against a common enemy. Slowly, the community begins to accept Adan and her family.